advantage, Mansfield and Swindon Town, as of course they take a lead, a slender lead, albeit that, into the semi-final second legs of this year's League Two playoffs. But who will actually make it to bloody Wembley, to our shot to make it back to League One? We're going to take a look at that and more next. Another prediction video today. We look forward to the 2021-2022 League 2 semi-final playoffs. That's right, second legs. And we'll get to that in just one second. If you know where you've been, smash your subscribe and keep banging out today. All things League 2 related, blah, 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 related, world football related. We got it all here, boys. Under one roof, that's right, of course, Swindon Town and Mansfield Town both have slender leads, of course, as they try to get it all the way to bloody Wembley. That's right. Can they do it? We'll take a look at it in a minute. Of course, big shout out to my VIPs there, the patrons, guys. You know who you are. But anyway, what we're going to do here today is, of course, take a look at the semi-final second legs. But before all that, we're going to revisit, of course, the first leg. So here we go, of course. Let's recap, of course, how the table looked before we take a look at the playoffs. Of course, Forest Green Rovers, they are there. Finally, at long last, they're actually in League One for the very first time. They're joined by Exeter City and, of course, Barton's boys, Bristol Bloody Rovers. Scunthorpe United, whatever the heck they call them, Scunthorpe, whatever. And, of course, Oldham going down to bloody the non-league. Oldham, of course, founding members of the Premier League way back in 1992. It's absolute shambles the way they've gone. But can they bounce back? But can they turn it around? Just like Luton Town, of course, who are on the brink of making a return to the top flight. But of course, they hot off the press just failed there. But that's, of course, the state of play in the table. Of course, let's take a look now. Of course, how we all got on with the predictions. Of course, for the last matches, which were the playoff semi-finals first leg. So here come those results coming at you right here. Right now, first and foremost, it was Mansfield Town. It was Northampton Town, and of course, it was a 2-1 win for Mansfield. Goodness gracious me. I went with the 2-0 win myself. A 2-1 win was the final score. Goals coming in there from Reece Oates on the 13th minute. And of course, Jordan Bowley got a second and double lead in the first half to make it look home and hosed for Mansfield Town. But of course, Ali Kokai, of course, got herself a slim of hope there for Northampton Town. And they'll go into the second legs at home. 6 fields, of course, to try and turn this beast around. So not too shabby there. Of course, a game that they actually were a little bit hard done by in the end. Dominated possession, dominated the shots, but ultimately just couldn't get over the line for the second, the equalising goal. But of course, they'll fancy their chances heading into that second leg. Speaking of second legs, let's take a look at the other game. It was Swindon Town. That's right. They took on Port Bloody Vale. That's right. And of course, just like the other one, the home side has advantage of 2-1 as well. I went with the 3-1 win myself. 2-1 it was final score, and pretty much as you were, pretty much carbon copy of it. 2-goal lead from Swindon Town. Harry McCurdy with a brace there, 26th minute and the 68th minute. James Wilson, I think that's formerly of Manchester United youngster, something like that. Has been around the grounds a little bit over the years. He got an 83rd minute saviour there goal for Port Vale to give themselves a glimmer of hope as they try to get back at it in the second legs. Quite even Steves across the 90 minutes, 13 shots apiece and 52% possession for Port Vale compared to Swindon's 48. But of course they'll go ahead at Vale Park this coming week, and of course we'll take a look at those in just a second. Of course, we've got to be quick fire with these picks because the game's coming at you on Wednesday and Thursday this week to set us up for a final a week or so later. Let's take a look at that. So I got myself 2 out of 2 there. Absolutely fantastic. But what about you? Of course, who joined me with 2 out of 2? A couple of guys got 0 there, but Jimmy Watton, of course, respect to him. And Shane O'Donnell picking up 100%, just like me. And what's that done to the mini leaderboard? Now the mini leaderboard has been brewing since January, of course, and it looks just like this one then, shall we? It is, of course, Deep Out the Great with 137 points. What appears to be winning, of course, the mini leaderboard. They cannot be caught. Mathematically cannot be caught. Even though there's 3 points left, of course, so that's done. That's done and dusted. But what's not done and dusted is, of course, the master leaderboard, which has been brewing since the start of the season. Also, what's not done and dusted is, of course, the predictor of the month for the month of May. So we still have this semi-final, second leg, and of course the final. 3 points on the offer. It could be the difference between you winning a gift card or not. So get in there and get your picks in. It's free to enter, all that kind of stuff. All you got to do is go to this link right here, Cut4 League 2, get your picks in there, click, 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 how's your father, and there you go, bish, bash, bosh. So here we go with the second legs, then shall we kick it off with this one. It is Northampton Town at Mansfield, of course, at 6 fields, that's right, coming at you Wednesday, May the 18th be with you. Now, of course, let's take a look at this one then, shall we? Of course, pretty much carbon copy as what we've just done in the previous one, but of course, it is, of course, over at Northampton. John Brady's Northampton up against Nigel Cloughie's boys. That's Mansfield. Of course, Mansfield have been there or thereabouts over the years, but they haven't seemed to got the shit together to get over the line, and of course, back to League One. This would be an absolute monumental achievement for Cloughie's boys, considering where they were at the start of the season. And of course, when did they start the season? They started all the way down there. They were down there 22nd, 23rd, 24th. And it wasn't really until match number 15 where they picked up a bit of steam and, of course, ended up finishing in, I believe, in 7th. As for Northampton Town, they've, of course, pretty much been in and around the playoffs since, of course, the get-go. I think they only dipped out a couple of weeks there, around about 10, 11, match day 10, 11. And, of course, they had a little bit of a spell in the automatics as well. But, of course, these two sides will be locking horns coming at you on Tuesday, the 18th of May. They played each other 22 times now, of course. 6 wins for Northampton, 11 wins for Mansfield, and 5 draws. Northampton just one defeated past 6. That was, of course, the previous match. 75% form for them up against the Mansfield Town side. 67% form, of course, unbeaten now in 5 games. Their biggest win, Mansfield over Northampton, 4-0 win. Their biggest win the other way was a 2-0 win, of course, for Northampton. Northampton have actually scored 23 goals against Mansfield over the course of those 22 games. Works out around about 1.05 goals game ratio. As for Mansfield, though, they've scored 37 goals against Northampton over the course of the 22 games. Works out around about 1.68 goals game ratio, of course. And they scored just recently 2, which, of course, is above that 1.68 goals game ratio. Now, speaking of the recent run of affairs, they did play each other at Sixfields, of course, earlier in the campaign back in October. Match number 12, it was a 2-0 win for Northampton. And if that was to be a repeat scoreline here today, that'll be enough for Northampton to go through. However, a draw or more for Mansfield, and they will go through. Of course, the previous 2 both been at Mansfield, and of course, they both wins for Mansfield. A 1-0 win in the league and a 2-1 win in it was in the playoffs. Of course, prior to this, prior to the playoffs, Mansfield did end up with a 2-2 draw against them Vegans. In fact, they ended up with a couple of back-to-back draws on that one. Their last away day was actually a 2-2 draw against Salford. Meanwhile, Northampton Town's last match in the league was, of course, last home match in the league was a 1-1 draw against Exeter City. But what about the odds then? The odds to go the distance in this match, the 90 minutes, not the overall aggregate scoreline. 11-8 is your Northampton Town. They are favourites to win this game. 21-10, basically 2-1 is your Mansfield Town on this one. 11-5 is your draw, of course. But what about me? What about me on this one? I do think Northampton Town will not lose this game under 90 minutes. Of course, but can they drag it into extra time and maybe sneak it in the end? I've actually gone with a 1-1 draw, which of course will not be good enough for Northampton Town to make the bloody final. I've gone with a 3-2 aggregate win, of course, coming on the back of a 2-1 win for Mansfield in the first leg. So in my eyes, Mansfield Town will be in that final, but who, of course, they'll take on in that final. We'll have a look at that one right here, right now. Then, of course, coming at you with Port Vale against Swindon over at Vale Park. Now, this match will take place on Thursday, May the 19th. Be with you. That's right. Of course, these two sides have locked horns 38 times since 1984. 9 wins to Port Vale, 20 wins to Swindon, and 9 draws. Of course, Swindon also a founding member of the Premier League, just like Oldham were, of course, way back in 1992. Of course, Swindon's journey this season, of course, has seen them float all the way up and down the league. They were in the automatics for a little bit. They dipped outside the playoffs, but of course, most importantly, the end of the season in that top 7, and of course, finishing 6th at the grand scheme of things. As for Port Vale, they also had a good season this season. Last season, it was meant to be their year. Of course, it was an anniversary year for them of some regard, but they had a bit of a wobbly start, but of course, been steady Eddie throughout the season. Also in the automatics for a little bit, but of course, ending up in 5th spot. One spot better off than Port Vale. Coming at you though, let's take a look at the recent results or the form heading into this. Of course, Port Vale just 1 win in 5 of them, 33% form now, coming into on the back of that defeat in the first leg. Meanwhile, of course, Swindon coming to 5 wins on the bounce. They could be the team to avoid heading into the final. Of course, 83% form for them, of course. And their biggest win, Swindon Town over Port Vale, was a 6-0 win. The biggest win the other way was a 2-0 win. In fact, Port Vale have only scored 38 goals in 38 games, working out around about 1 goal a game ratio compared to the 66 goals scored by Swindon in those 38 games. 1.74 goals game ratio heading into this match as well. Of course, last time they played over at Vale Park, it was a 3-1 win for Swindon. Wow, indeed, of course. But meanwhile, they also played each other at Swindon in the league. It was a 2-1 win for Port Vale, but of course, they couldn't get that They couldn't duplicate that form in the playoffs just the other day, of course, back on the 15th of May. Swindon, of course, coming into the back of a 2-1 win over Port Vale. Of course, their last away day match was a 3-0 win over Walsall. Meanwhile, Port Vale's last match at home was a 2-1 loss to Newport County. It's been a while, guys, since, of course, they picked up the win. Of course, a couple of ex-Rovers in the Swindon town side. We've got the likes of Ben Gladwin. We've also got Jack Payne in there. Of course, Louis Barry, of course, was tipped to do many, many great things, but, of course, not so good at the minute for him right now. Kicking it forward, though, the odds 23-20 is your Port Vale to win the game. The 90-minute match, 12-5 is your draw. 12-5 is also your away win on this one. What about me? What about me on this one? I'm going to go with, I think I'm actually going to go with a Port Vale victory here, 2-1 in the end, which, of course, is a carbon copy of the first leg, but, of course, the scoreline is reversed, which will mean we go to extra time, and, of course, in my eyes, I think we're going to get a penalty shootout, and I'm going to go with a 3-3 aggregate scoreline at the end of 120 or whatever it is, and, of course, for me, I think Swindon Town will have the upper hand. Penalties. They've got a lot of quality in that squad, considering where they are in League 2. They were formerly of League 1 last season. Of course, in my eyes, they're edging a little bit closer to a return to League 1. But, of course, they'll have to do it the hard way. And in my eyes, they'll be taking on Mansfield Town. That's right. So, Swindon Town, Mansfield Town will be in the League 2 playoff final, in my eyes. Let me know what you think, of course, as we kick on forward to that final, which, of course, we'll have coverage of that build-up and much, much more indeed. So, go over there, Cutley/League 2. That is the link. That's what you've got to use. And, of course, but till then, boys, make sure you smash your thumbs up, smash your subscribe. Who do you think will go through to the League 2 final? Do you agree with me? Will it be Mansfield? Will it be Swindon? Will it be Port Vale? Will it be Northampton? Of course, and what's going to happen to the resulting managers? Will they be at their jobs next season? Of course, all that to be discussed over the pre-season, post-season, all that kind of stuff. But until then, boys, we're done right now. See you later, Alligator. But until then, we're done.